On today's show, Jason Kidd comes to Luka Doncic's full-throated defense. But it's what Kyrie Irving said that really will make the difference for the Mavs superstar. We'll talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Mavs.
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks.
Mavericks, NBA champions. It's good, and the Mavericks have won the game.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager at the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being part of the show and making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, where the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day, leave a 5-star review on any Apple Podcast, Spotify podcast platform that you're listening to, like the video on YouTube, comment anything below. Let me know in the comment section, what do you think? Was Jason Kidd right to defend Luka? Or was Kyrie Irving more right in helping Luka get better? This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest, most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA to use the code, all lowercase, LockedOnNBA for first deposit match up to $100. And I guess since it's a win, we can let it ride. Mavs get a win in the NBA Finals. You never know how many wins you're going to get. This could be the last one. There could be 3 more. You don't know. I don't know. Today, I want to talk about Luka. We'll hear from Kyrie Irving. I think his comment about Luka and the refs and Luka and his composure and poise was fascinating. I thought what Kyrie Irving said. So we'll hear from him. We'll also talk about Dereck Lively. I think Dereck Lively has shown the superpower that I've talked about with Dereck Lively all season is on full display through these 2 home games in the finals for the Dallas Mavericks. And so I'll tell you what I mean by that, why he's been better. And yeah, we'll do that, but I got to start here. I got to start with Jason Kidd. Before game 4, comes out and defends Luka Doncic in a full-on defense of Luka. Luka was put on trial, basically, after game 3. We said it on this very show. His defense wasn't good enough. His effort wasn't good enough. He was complaining to the refs more and more, not focused, all that. And then the criticism went wild. And so even myself and Dana Larson on this show came to Luka's defense. Like, hey, this is kind of getting out of control. No one else is held to this standard to have to do all these things. And so the Mavs head coach, Jason Kidd, came to Luka's defense. And let's react to it because I found it very interesting.
Yeah, I think when you look at today's athlete, the game of sport is not to be perfect. It's just to win. And when you look at what's come out here in the last day or so, if you've watched the Mavs, Luka has improved his defense. But we're asking him, or some are asking him, to be a shutdown defender. Well, he's never been on an all-defensive team, but he's been on 5 all-pro teams, first team. So that means he's one of the top 5 players in the world. And he's playing the game the right way, where he can find open guys. But when you're on the biggest stage, someone's got to poke a hole. This will only make the great ones better. And that's, when you look at, we talked about it yesterday with LeBron, Michael, the greats, the GOATs, they've all, were poked at, and they came back stronger and better. And I truly believe Luka will come back stronger and better. Some criticize that he could never get this far, but he's here. And unfortunately, as a team, he said it best. We win together and we lose together. And that's, we lost 3 in a row. We're trying to find a way tonight to win. But sometimes when you are a free agent in the media business, you got to say something crazy to get a new contract. Or likes or clicks.
Last 2 questions, back left and up front.
Jason, Stephen Bondi from the New York Post. I was going to ask about your personal attack comment. Is there one thing that you felt was over the line? I guess you kind of alluded to it just now.
It's a good question.
No, I think it's just, this is a free country. Everybody has the right to their opinion. It's just, sometimes we might take it a little bit too far, right? And and understanding if you put yourself in that person's shoes, could you stand up to the barbecue, right? You know, sometimes we want to fry someone, but if you reversed it and it was you being fried, would you like it? Most likely not, right? That's just the nature of the business. But this young man has done nothing to anyone but play the game of basketball. And when he's asked a question, he's never run from it. He's answered it. And he's 25 years old. And, you know, and I think that's what I'm more disappointed in, is that we're at the highest stage where we have one of the best players in the world playing the game the right way, but we want to criticize some of the things that he does not do well. But when he does do them well, are we going to come back and want to talk to him? And then when he says, no, I'm a pass, then what happens? Right? So, like, I think it's just sometimes unfair or, warranted to be able to say those things. No one in this room is perfect. Right? So, like, give my man a break. Let him play the game, because we're all here to watch him play, right? And so let's just enjoy it. I mean, he's 25 years old. He will be better. Hopefully he's better tonight.
Last question up front.
Jason Kidd with the little the dry humor in there, which I always do appreciate that one. He just has the driest humor. It's a long clip, so there's a lot to unpack there. Let's start with the first thing he said. Let's just go through what he said. Some are asking him to be a shutdown defender. I don't think that's true. I don't think people are asking him to be a shutdown defender, but I do think that people are asking him. I do think that the critiques of Luka the last couple of days have been about, well, he just can't be a turnstile. Okay, well then how do we successfully evaluate defense? It's only you're good or you're bad. That's it, right? That's the difference. And I think it goes to our lack of being able to differentiate between different types of defenders and different types of defense. And I'd be the first one to say, I don't know all the time what exactly they're being asked to do on defense, what adjustments they've made. I know what they're generally trying to do on defense. And you can tell through the course of a game, all right, they're trying to do this, they're trying to do this, you know. The Mavs are trying to funnel to the big man, or they're trying to they got to stay in front of him because then you got to rotate over here. Like, you can understand generally, but it's hard to try and figure out, all right, what's exactly Luka's being asked of here. But it is easy to see somebody get blown by on defense and go, oh, that guy's a turnstile. Terrible. So I don't think that people are asking him to be a shutdown defender, but I do think he's being held to a standard that nobody else is, that no other players are being asked to. Then goes to Kidd's next comment about, every GOAT type player, that holes have been poked in their game. Yeah, that comes with the territory. Dirk was called soft. They were never going to win a title because Dirk was soft. He was a European big man that was soft. And now Luka's a crying, whiny baby that, doesn't like it and all that. That's what he's being called, soft or cry baby. Those are the things. Everybody gets called those things. And so then you get to Kidd's comment about, some critique that he would never get this far. And now he's here. That's true. You cannot move the goalposts with this. And I think this is where Kidd's frustration comes in. This is where my frustration comes in with the criticism of Luka Doncic, is that, yes, he has these issues, he has these flaws, and yet they're in the NBA Finals. Don't move the goalposts just because you want to be right. Don't change it and say, all right, well, now he'll never win a title. Okay, well, he'll never make the finals. Okay, well, his team will never be a winner. All right, well, they're in the NBA. They're one of the two teams left. Be two teams that won 56, 57 games. And the Clippers. So, okay, it's like, keep moving the goalposts on him. All right, he'll never do this if he doesn't. Okay, he'll never do this if he doesn't. Okay. And then, coming up, let's talk about the Jason Kidd going straight for the subtweet jugular with, he's calling out one specific member of the media. And then I think Jason Kidd said something extremely unfair to us in the media, which I know everyone will love. And then we'll give Kyrie's comment as well. Talk about that and more coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. You've got too much to do. You've got way too much to do to try and go through a stack of like 100, 200 applicants. LinkedIn has 1 billion professionals on it, which makes it the best place to hire, gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. And so you've got this huge stack in front of you, and they help you try and sort through it. They help you try and figure out who are the best qualified candidates. Hiring is easy when you have that many qualified candidates. So easy, in fact, that 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many different hats. You just don't have the time to sort through all that. So they find different ways to make it easier to go through it all. And right now you can post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions, they do and will apply. Thanks everybody for being part of the show, hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, listening every day. If you want to support the show, subscribe to the subtext, get extra text alerts, things like that. I just watched the first quarter of Game 4, and I recorded it. I paused it. I showed different things. I showed what I was seeing during it, and then I sent the file to everybody on subtext. So subscribe if you want extra content like that. I send a bunch of texts and updates during games. Subscribe to subtext. Click the link in the description. Text the number in the description wherever you're listening, watching this podcast. All right, Isaac. We're talking about Jason Kidd's comments about Luka Doncic. He comes to a full defense of Luka, and I just found it notable that the coach came to his defense in this. He's coming after Brian Windhorst. Brian Windhorst on ESPN had a long rant about Luka. It felt very much like the Brian Damaris James Harden rant that happened earlier this season. But with Brian Windhorst, it got to a point where you're like, man, he's really going after him right now. Luka will never be able to win if he does. He's in the NBA Finals. Playing a bad matchup. It's like, okay, well. And so then Jason Kidd, in the comments that you just heard, said, sometimes when you're a free agent in the media, I don't know Brian Windhorst's contract. I'm going to assume he's going to be a free agent soon. I'm going to assume Jason Kidd knows that. And I'm going to assume that that's the one he's going after. And then he says, and we want to fry someone. Would you like it? Would you like it if you got fried? Goes right after him, which I just found so fascinating. He's just going right after him. And Jason Kidd, calculated, smart guy, very dry, very subtweety, and goes right after him. Goes right after those comments. I just found that really interesting. And then the last thing I think that he says is unfair to the media. I'm part of the media. And Jason Kidd says, give my man a break. Let's just enjoy it. No. It's not how that works. Right? You don't want to just hear that. If you wanted to just hear that, love my guy Isaac Harris, just go listen to Isaac Harris. And go listen to the Mavs content that they make. Go ahead. Go listen to them. If you want that, let's just enjoy basketball. Let's just talk about all the good. Let's just only talk about things when they're going well. Let's only talk about the things that are positive. And honestly, no, I use them as an example, but the Mavs will say things when things are bad too on their channel. But you can't just give him a break. If they're down 0-3 in the finals, you're going to critique and criticize what Luka has done and what Luka has not done. We can't just enjoy it, Jason Kidd. That's not how that works. That is not how this job works. You listening don't want to just hear me tell you that everything's sunshine and rainbows. If they're down 0-3, it's just unrealistic. And then eventually you'll say, well, this guy's just like positive about everything. And like, is he even telling me the truth? So then when something bad does happen, you're not going to believe me. Right? So that takes away my credibility to you listening to me right now. So I agree with a lot of the things Jason Kidd said in that whole defense. I agree that people are moving the goalposts. I agree that people are trying to poke holes in him. I agree that you can't just fry somebody and just go all after somebody, because that could happen to you. You've got to be fair about it. You've got to know when to draw the line, and you can't just go all out because you don't have to face that person, or you don't have to think about the consequences of your words or anything like that. But we can't just give him a break because he wasn't good. I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to tell you what I saw. Slightly's going to tell you what he thinks. Reggie's going to tell you. Dana's going to tell you what she thinks. You can't just give him a break. I think that part of it's unfair. But Jason Kidd had all this to say, but Kyrie Irving, I thought, had the more interesting comment about how Luka interacts with the refs, how he deals with some of these issues that we've been talking about, the critiques that we've had the last couple of days. This is how he will deal with it. And Kyrie is doing the Lord's work with that. And he tells you how right now.
Yeah, well, I think what we have to also account for is we're in a very physical game. So when you're getting beat up like that, out there every single play down, you're going to have something to say to the refs. And in Luka's case, his relationship with the refs is not always the healthiest during games. And, the referees are humans too, so we have to respect what they do. They're just a big part of this game too. It could sway either way. And I think what you're seeing is him just taking accountability as best he can at this point in his life. And he's a young person still trying to figure it out, so I give him that grace. But also we got to give him a little tough love where we let him know and reiterate that you got to stay off those guys a little bit. So I think it's just lessons being learned. And when he is locked in like that and he's not paying attention to the refs, he is a huge impactful player for us and a great leader for us. So we just want him to stay consistent on that and not be too hard on himself either if he's going to do that. If he gets a tech, so be it. No one's fratting the eye, but if we're trying to get back into the game and we need the refs, then there has to be a different perspective, a different approach you got to take. So sometimes a good conversation works with the refs. Sometimes eye conversation works with them. But when you're shit talking them and meffing them all the time, it could get to them too. So I'm not saying that we're all perfect, but we got to use everything to our advantage in a positive note.
Wow. Kyrie Irving says the quiet part out loud. In the end there, he says, if we're trying to get back in the game and we need the refs, which I thought was kind of funny. But he comes out and says, basically, Luka doesn't have the healthiest relationship with the refs. This is not something that Jason Kidd and the Mavericks are just trying to push away and say, hey, this is not an issue. This is a non-issue. We don't worry about it. Luka's perfect. Doesn't matter. But he did say, when you get hit down the floor every time, it makes sense that you'd be frustrated. Luka does get hit. Luka is point guard Shaq. He's point guard Shaq because he's 6'8". He's huge. He gets a lot of contact. He tries to draw a lot of contact too. He does flop all the time and tries to get these fouls. But he gets touched every single time down the floor because that's how you guard him. You have to be physical with him. Lou Dort. Go look at what Lou Dort did in the Thunder series over and over again. You have to touch him, be physical. You have to get after him. You have to not stop ever. You have to continue to push him. You have to get him frustrated. You have to get him upset because he not only has to get upset with you, he has to get upset with the refs too. You've got to get both things to get Luka off of his game. And I think that that's something where you go, all right, it makes sense that Luka would be frustrated with the refs because he's getting hit on every play and he's not getting a foul on every play either. But then Kyrie says, when he's locked in, he's a hugely impactful player for us. We're trying to get back in the game. We need him. And Kyrie's the one going to tell him, hey, we need you in this moment. You can't let this get out of hand here. And so Kyrie is the one helping him through this. He says, we tell him all the time. And sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. Game 3, it didn't work. But Kyrie says it. He doesn't have the healthiest relationship with the refs. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. Luka knows it. He's referenced it several times. It's a problem. It's an issue. You can critique him for it. It's an issue that affects the team. And Kyrie said when he's locked in, he's a hugely impactful player. When we need him to be locked in. In Game 4, I thought he was much more locked in. And it's not just that he complains to the refs. It's that he complains to the ref and lets it affect his play and his game. And then all of a sudden, Kyrie said the thing at the end, the refs are humans too. They're going to let it get to them. Somebody's just, MFing you all the time. That's what Kyrie said. Which means that's what Luka's absolutely doing to the refs. When someone's mother you all the time, calling you that every single time down the court, that's going to affect you and that's going to affect your job. How could it not? You'd have to have the thickest skin in the world, which the NBA refs probably do. But yeah. Jason Kidd coming to his defense, but Kyrie Irving coming in to help. Kyrie Irving coming in to help Luka get better. And I'm sure Jason Kidd is as well. But Kyrie's comments to me was more interesting about Luka and the refs and his relationship. And this has been a whole conversation because we just saw the dichotomy of Luka in Game 3, Luka in Game 4. It's different. It was different. He was more locked in, more poised, more composed. And he did a great job in Game 4. And Luka now has this support system that seems to be helping because now they're in the NBA Finals and they won a game. It's big. Really big. Coming up, what was different for Dereck Lively in game 3 and 4 compared to games 1 and 2? There's one very important thing. I'll tell you what it is. Coming up. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks daily fantasy made easy. All you have to do is go to PrizePicks, pick 2 to 6 players, and more or less on their projections on their stats for that specific game. So you can go check out and see what's available for you. Check out prizepicks.com. You can go pick Luka more or less on his points, Kyrie more or less on his points. You can combine that with Enrique Ogunbowale points for the Dallas Wings or any other WNBA player, Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, anybody like that. Combine all those things and you can go see what is available on a day-to-day basis. They change all the time. They change hour by hour. There's fun stuff that they add. And you can turn $10 into $1,000 in 60 seconds or less by playing PrizePicks. So make it more fun to watch sports and check out the finals. Also, WNBA basketball, MLB baseball, all that kind of stuff. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for first deposit match up to $100. Again, that's the code LOCKEDONNBA, prizepicks.com or PrizePicks the app. Locked On NBA promo code.
It's great. It's great, dude. Dude, it's great. It's great. It's great, broski. Bro, name it. It's great. It's great. It's great, bro. It's great. It's great. It's great. This life's great, bro. I have no complaints. I don't.
Me personally, I don't have any complaints. I'm good. And you know who else doesn't have any complaints and is just a ray of sunshine and is just like, as a Mavericks fan, you must just wake up thinking it's incredible to have Dereck Lively on this team. He was completely different in games 3 and 4 than he was in games 1 and 2. Games 1 and 2, 2 points a game, 6 rebounds a game, 2 turnovers a game. Just about 19 minutes. He was only 2 of 4. Took 4 shots. 2 of 4 from the field. Minus 30 in his plus minus. He was minus 15 in both games. Brutal. And then games 3 and 4, the 2 games at home. 11 points a game, 12 and a half rebounds a game, 1.5 steals a game, no turnovers at all, 26 minutes, 9 of 11 from the field, plus 26 total. Now, game 4 really goosed that and really boosted that plus minus for sure. But the statistical difference and the counting stats for Dereck Lively was much different. But I think him playing on the court, there was a huge difference for him. He seemed to adjust more. He seemed to be ready for the physicality and all that more. He's been so important to this Mavericks team. And the key for him this whole season that I've talked about all year, even from the very beginning of camp to now, even Summer League, all the way back then, I talked about Dereck Lively's superpower is his teachability, his learning, and his coachability. He never plays the same team the same way twice. He learns something every time he deals with a matchup. He learns something every time he gets a practice. Tyson Chandler has talked about this. Tyson Chandler knows better than me. Tyson Chandler has said that his coachability is incredible. Seeing him learn things and process things from one practice to another or one game to another, different level. Incredible to see this. And that's what takes a player with the tools like Dereck Lively to be an impactful player, whereas there's so many players that have the same tools as Dereck Lively, right? Jackson Hayes for the Pelicans. They thought he was going to be this. And he has not been. Now he was on the Lakers, and I don't know where he's going to be now. And so his coachability, his teachability have been awesome. His ability to adapt and to adjust one game to another. The big adjustment for Dereck Lively, though, has not been him. The big adjustment has been Kristaps Porzingis not playing. Kristaps Porzingis not playing in this series has helped Dereck Lively so much. That's been the biggest adjustment. And that's where the Celtics have been hurt the most by Porzingis not playing. It's not even the points that Porzingis scored. It's not even the defense that he can bring defending the rim. It's that they're pulling the Mavs centers out of the paint. They're pulling the Mavs centers out of the paint to the three-point line, and with Porzingis, you have to go all the way out to 30 feet because he can shoot that far. And even if he doesn't make shots, you still got to go out there. And that has changed everything. Now, all of a sudden, the Celtics rotation doesn't have as much size. They're putting Tillman out there instead of Luke Cornett, so you've only got like 6'9" guys. That's it. Got a couple players at 6'9" in Tatum, Horford, Tillman. Like, these are not huge guys. They're huge to you and me. They're not huge to NBA players. Lively's 7'1", 7'7" wingspan. He's big. Gafford, bigger than all the other Celtics, 6'10". And so not having Porzingis out there and not having as much size, Dereck Lively can now do a whole lot. And so one adjustment that the Mavericks have made as a team to help Lively and to help their centers, basically, and Lively's the one that's taken the most advantage of this. Lively has been guarding the corner. So when Reggie and Slightly and I talked about how it looks like the Mavericks are like playing a zone, it kind of does feel like they're playing a zone because they're sticking in certain spots, but they're also guarding guys. It's like a matchup zone where like you're technically guarding a player, but then you're also in a specific area, a zone. And so then when a different player, like a different offensive player, moves to your part of the zone, then the Mavs do a switch. They've been pointing at each other and like, all right, you take this guy. And there's specific plays where I've watched this and go, oh man, okay, so they just switched right there without even like looking at each other. And that's why this defensive scheme takes so much communication, accountability, all that kind of stuff. But Dereck Lively's been guarding the corner, and let's say it's Derek White, because it was a lot in game 4. He's guarding Derek White in the corner, and then when he has to come over to the paint to help, everyone has to know where to go after that. Everyone has to know, okay, he's leaving the corner, so then the guy on the wing has to come over and help on the corner so that there's not a quick pass over there, and then all of a sudden the guy on the opposite side of the court has to run over to that other guy on the wing so that the other Mavs defender just left. It takes a lot of coordination, but the Mavs have adjusted really well to it. So it's leading to these contested threes. Celtics missed a bunch of threes in game 4. It was another one of those games where they just missed a bunch. A lot of shots that they normally make. But the Mavs have adjusted. And so now Dereck Lively can just gobble up these rebounds because there's nobody else down there that's big enough. And it's Derek White coming in and trying to stop him. And that happened a couple times. And he fouled him a couple times. Dereck Lively has been awesome. It's been really great to see. Kyrie called him one of our vocal leaders. Luka said it's fun having him out there, and it's fun having him out there with me, calling him a teammate. It's a pleasure to have him. It's wild. That's like a lot from Luka to say, I love playing with him. He doesn't say that about a lot of guys. And not that he hates playing with everybody, but he doesn't love playing with everybody either. Dereck Lively, his superpowers on full display. He's learning coachability. He's adapting to Porzingis not being in the game. And Porzingis not being in the game and not being a tool that the Celtics can use for spacing and for size and for rim protection has been massive. A massive adjustment for them, a massive adjustment for the Mavericks. It's really been a huge thing in the series. And Lively's taken full advantage of it. Last thing I want to do about this is that I'll probably do this a little bit more tomorrow, but the Mavs don't have to be, for the Mavs in game 5, I'll do like a full game 5 kind of look ahead, but they don't have to be that good again. They don't have to be as good as they were in game 4, and Boston doesn't have to be as bad as they were in game 4 either. When asked about how they felt after game 4, I was interested to hear what somebody had to say, and Lively said this, I wouldn't say we're overly happy. We enjoyed this win, but we're not jumping for joy. We've got to win. We do what we need for this game, and now it's getting past game 5. I just read that really wrong. And now it's getting to game 5. We're going into another hostile environment. And now we're just going to take what we did from this game, learn how they're going to adapt to this game, and just do whatever we can to readjust to this game and try to make this home game happen again. I read that very well. I'm just going to tell you I did. But they're not taking this win as like, oh yeah, heck yeah, we won this game. Now they're looking at the next one, and the next one, and the next one. They're like, all right, we've just got to keep trying to figure out what they're going to do. But the Mavs don't have to be as good as they were in game 4. There are some things that didn't go their way at all in game 4, and they won by a bunch. Luka and Kyrie went 1 of 14 from 3. The others went 6 of 9, but that's not a lot of 3. 6 threes is not a lot of threes. 6 of 9. And then the fourth quarter happened, and the fourth quarter doesn't matter. PJ Washington got into foul trouble in this game. The Mavs didn't have PJ Washington, like the same PJ Washington that they had. He hit a couple of threes, but he wasn't available in the same way that he's been. Dallas shot 15 of 22 from the free throw line. That's 68%. They didn't even shoot the ball well from 3 or the free throw line really that much. And so the Mavs had this incredible win. We'll take it, obviously. And maybe the Celtics will turn it on and it'll look just like game 1 again. And all of a sudden the Mavs will lose. But they've proven that they can win a game in this. And they didn't even play that incredibly well in it. Wasn't a perfect game for the Mavs. It wasn't just one of those, man, the Mavs just hit. The variance of the Celtics missing a bunch of threes and the Mavs making a bunch of threes. That didn't happen. Celtics missed a bunch, yes. They also missed a bunch in game 2. Celtics really haven't hit that many threes in this whole, they really haven't dominated from 3 in this series necessarily, right? You haven't seen them go 45% from 3 and you go, oh my, they just hit 23. They just hit 18 threes in a game. It's like, they haven't really done that game yet. Maybe it happens in game 5 and then it's done. And you're like, all right, tip your hat. This team is just really well constructed. They've got a lot of firepower and all that. But we're also seeing Jason Tatum have a really bad series so far. He has not shot the ball well at all. And so maybe Jason Tatum has a good game. Maybe it comes out, but I think the Mavs can play better, and I think the Celtics obviously can play better, but the Mavs can play better too. I'll make that point since this is Locked On Mavericks. You can listen to John Corrales about how the Celtics can play better, but yeah, the Mavs can play better. Dereck Lively adjusted really well. Luka and the refs. Curious what you guys think about that, guys. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.